Good morning. Welcome to the Monoxivent webinar series. My name is Ian Frank and I'm a Vice President at Monoxivent. Today's presentation will focus on Monoxivent's nozzles and adapters. And our presenter is Erik Swanson. Erik is the Division Manager for Monoxivent and has been with the company since 2000. A little bit of housekeeping for us. In the lower left corner of your screen, we are encouraging participants to text questions to us. We will read back the questions and answer throughout the presentation in an effort to encourage dialogue throughout. Monoxivent's nozzles and adapters have evolved throughout the history of the company over the last 60 years. We have nozzles and adapters for just about any kind of application. Some are more cost effective, up to premier top of the line nozzles and adapters. And there's quite a bit to choose from. So we're going to go ahead without further ado and dive into the presentation and turn it over to Erik.
Thanks, Ian. Today we are going to talk about basically tailpipe adapters, nozzles, and we will be talking about not only our standard offering, but I do have some examples of some custom things as well as we get towards the end. We do have a couple of brief videos that you can watch in regards to how some of these tailpipe adapters get utilized on the vehicle. So obviously tailpipe adapters are required. We don't want to have raw hose slipped over tailpipes, especially if they're getting hot. Some of the hoses may melt or could even mar or mark tailpipes. This is the basic offering: tapered cones, vertical stack adapters, rubber tailpipe adapters. These are going to be some of the bread and butter items that you're going to see and use on a day in, day out basis. Starting with the tapered cone adapter, TCA series. This is nothing more than, like the name implies, a stainless steel tapered cone. In this case, in the picture, you can see we've added a vice grip connector to it. That's to actually clamp it, physically clamp it to the tailpipe. And there is also a notch in that particular adapter. That notch is for, if you utilize this on a vertical stack that has the flapper cap on top. When they go to install this on the vehicle, they want to make sure that that flapper cap is open, and that's going to slide over the hinging point of the flapper cap and keep it behind the adapter so it doesn't fall into the inside and close the tailpipe off. These are available anywhere from 4-inch up to 18, 20-inch, however big you want to go. Normally the mouth on these is 2 inches bigger than the hose connection size, and we can make these a little larger mouth if required. The 23800 series is primarily rubber. They're all rubber. In this case, you can see that we've added a spring clamp to it. Much like the vice grip, it's a way to secure it to the tailpipe so that it can't fall off when the vehicle is running. And in some cases, the tailpipe might even be at an angle or something like that where the tailpipe adapter just won't hang on to the pipe because it will slide right off because of the angle. The clamp helps hold it on. The 23827, 23828 type tailpipe adapters are something that we use every day, primarily on cars, light trucks, some motorcycle applications, ATVs, anything with smaller tailpipes, smaller hose diameter. Here is 23827 tailpipe adapter. It's being utilized in a balancer setup. And you can see in this case, the tailpipe is kind of underneath the vehicle. We can slide it up on there. In this case, there was a hook and chain to secure it to the vehicle, and the hook and chain gets secured when they're done. The 8000 series tailpipe adapters are basically a metal body with a rubber coating on the outside. These, typically we do these with either a spring clamp like the unit on the right or the top of that picture, or with a vice grip clamp like you see in the lower picture. These are available with either a 6-inch mouth or an 8-inch mouth. And those two mouth sizes are pretty much fixed because of the rubber that we use to put over the outside of them. Those sleeves are either 6-inch or 8-inch. So in the case of 4, 6, 5 5-inch adapter. The standard mouth is going to be 6-inch, unless you have an application that requires a larger mouth. Say it's a semi or an industrial piece of equipment with a larger tailpipe. We can make these with an 8-inch diameter mouth as well. This is the 8000 series on a motorized hose reel, obviously, and this particular unit has a vice grip clamp. This will show the tech sliding the adapter over the tailpipe and locking it in place with the vice grip clamp. That will secure it to the vehicle, and to remove it, you simply release the lock of the vice grip clamp. It'll slip off the tailpipe and done. This is the 43000 series adapter. It is an all-metal type adapter. Utilizes kind of the same body as the 8000 series adapter. However, in this case, we put a spring hinge damper, is what we call it, over the mouth of the adapter. That will help seal off any airflow in the case of a system that might have some diversity built into it. For example, if they had 10 hose reels and they were really only going to use 5 at a time, we got to make sure those other 5 are shut off. So with this, they can the spring hinge damper will close. This particular unit comes with a handle, and we have done these both in galvanized steel and stainless steel. The only caution I would make with these is keep in mind when you open that damper blade, you've got that kind of hanging out in front of the tailpipe adapter. You want to make sure you use these where it's clear around the tailpipe and you can get that on without the damper interfering or hitting anything under the vehicle. TPA-RB series is primarily for vertical stacked vehicles. It could be semis or industrial equipment or anything with a vertical stack. This is a metal body where the hose attaches with a rubber body down below that's going to slip over the tailpipe. That's to help with, obviously, on some of the semis, and I've even seen it on some of the new industrial equipment or ag equipment. They use chrome tailpipes. They might not want to scratch that. The rubber body will help eliminate that. These can be supplied with accessories like lifting sleeves, pull-down hooks, handles, that type of thing. But this, again, is primarily for vertical stacks. Now, I will say that there have been instances, for example, I've seen them on like UPS delivery trucks or FedEx delivery trucks or even some school buses. The end of the tailpipe is finished a little bit differently in the fact that it has, I call it a tail fin. This tail fin looks like a kind of like a fish tail, and it's there to help dissipate the heat and the soot that's coming out of the tailpipe. Well, that extension of that tail fin makes it extremely hard to get a normal TCA or an 8000 series style tailpipe adapter over it. And we've had some luck using this in the fact that we can just slide it up over that tail fin, and it covers not only the tailpipe but the tail fin as well, and it helps catch the exhaust.
I have a quick question here. What about the vertical stacks with rain caps, Eric?
With rain caps, in the case of a TPA-RB, that's going to be difficult because we have no way to allow it to slip over that flapper cap. Now, we could take this body and rather than using rubber, we could make it metal and maybe not make it quite as long. That rubber body is usually 8 to 12 inches long. We could make it a little bit shorter. And then we could notch it out like we did in the TCA tailpipe adapter. We can put that notch in it so that it will slip over and hold that rain stack open. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, this is a TPA-RB being utilized on a semi-type truck with a vertical stack. As in this particular case, you can see that we are utilizing a lifting pole, and we've added lifting sleeves and pull-down hooks to that adapter. So they hook it with the lifting pole, pull it down, latch the reel, and when they want to lift it off, again, use a lifting pole, and they can store the hose again with the lifting pole. So that shows the TPA-RB in action, if you will, over a vertical stack. Y kits, we do get into vehicles that obviously have dual exhaust. This will allow you to hook up a single hose drop to a dual exhaust vehicle. That particular kit that you see there is our standard Y kit. It has the Y fitting, 2 sections of 3000 series hose. These are 4-inch diameter in this particular case. And it's finished off with the 23/8/27 rubber tailpipe adapters that we saw before. Now, that is our standard Y kit. Obviously, there's a lot of different things that we can do to this for different applications. We can use different Y fittings for larger hoses. We can use different hoses. We've even used up to 2,000-degree hose for dyno applications when we do Y kits. And we can swap out the tailpipe adapters as well. So if you need a Y kit that's something other than our standard, and that standard's going to work for your typical automotive type garage or motorcycle shop, if you need something that either needs larger diameter hose, higher temperature hose, or a different tailpipe adapter, certainly let us know and we can put together a kit for you that'll match your particular application. Diesel canes. This would be an alternative to doing like the TPA tailpipe adapter that we saw in the video with a lifting pole. This is all galvanized steel or stainless steel, depending on the application. It basically looks like a big candy cane. These can be done in 4-inch through 8-inch diameters. Obviously, we can make them bigger, but when you look at what that is and the size of it, when you start getting into larger diameters, it can get quite heavy and kind of unwieldy when you're trying to lift it 10 feet up off the floor to attach it to a vehicle. Plus, you get a lot of weight. You don't want a lot of weight pulling down on the vehicle stack. This shows our motorcycle dyno package. That is more of a complete package for motorcycle dynos, but the important part to this is in an application like this, they really do not want the tailpipe adapters to touch the motorcycle while it's on the dyno running. Obviously, the motorcycle can move around a little bit, and if we have not only that, but the exhaust is coming out of the tailpipe at an extremely high velocity with them running wide open, and it's hard to hold the tailpipe adapter onto the bike. And you know, given the nature of today's motorcycles, a lot of them either have chrome tailpipes or carbon fiber tailpipes, and the last thing they want to do is have a metal piece sitting on that. So this particular package has been designed so that it will actually hold the tailpipes adapters behind the exhaust pipes. It's fully adjustable up and down, in and out, front to back, so you can dial it in for the particular bike that's on the dyno. And again, it's not necessarily related to any particular tailpipe adapter. It's just the fact that we don't want the tailpipe adapter to touch the motorcycle, and we have a way to overcome that with this system. We can, once we get this dialed in, they can run the motorcycle however they want, and it's not going to touch the bike, and it's not going to blow the tailpipe adapter away from the motorcycle when they're running it through its test. Here's another version of a vertical stack cane. This particular unit is on wheels. We call it our PVSC portable vertical stack cane, and the mast is adjustable up and down. You can see that if they push it up to the vehicle properly, it is not going to touch the vertical stack in question. The nice part about this is they can do everything from the floor. They don't have to try to climb up on the vehicle to attach a tailpipe adapter. They don't have to use a lifting pole. They're not sticking a diesel cane on it. This one, once they get the vertical mast height set, they can just roll it in place, hook up your hose drop to the end of it, and they're good to go. Here's the data sheet for that, and you can see that it's adjustable, 125 to basically 160 inches. Those can vary depending on the vehicle. We make a version of this for the semi-trucks like we saw in the previous slide. We have a version of this for buses where the vertical mast does not have to reach as high, and the end treatment's a little bit different on the adapter end of it. And we also have an ag version. The ag version has a longer horizontal upper piece, so it can reach into the center of a combine or a tractor, for example, because their tailpipes aren't right by the edge of the vehicle like they would be in a truck or a bus. Our NORFI line of adapters, they have quite a variety of adapters in NORFI. There's a lot of nice molded adapters. Rather than using a vice grip clamp like you see on some of our other tailpipe adapters or a spring clamp, these utilize a Destaco type clamp. Again, they're all fully adjustable in their clamping force. You can see in this, on these particular adapters, we can make them straight through, have 45-degree angles on them, again, depending on the vehicle and where the hose is coming from, and also do some tailpipe adapter on stand, basically, adjustable vertical up and down. For those vehicles that don't have a tailpipe that you can necessarily attach the tailpipe adapter to, we have to have a way to hold it up to the back of the vehicle, much like the dyno package for the motorcycles with the adjustable stand. Okay, with the NORFI, again, we do have a wider range of some of the molded pieces. There are some special scoop type adapters for larger tailpipes that might come out underneath the vehicle or through a bumper or something like that. And again, some of these are great for the vehicles, especially the modern vehicles that just don't have the traditional tailpipe coming out the back of the vehicle. It's all finished off with the bumper, and you just can't get a tailpipe adapter on it. You can also see in this lower, kind of in the center there, there's a motorcycle adapter. Again, because there's no way to really put a nice tailpipe adapter on that, there's a stand available to hold the tailpipe adapter behind the bike and catch the fumes so that before they escape into the building. There's some unique adapters from NORFI. The upper two, you've probably heard or seen in the fire market, they use pneumatic bladders to hold the tailpipe adapter to the tailpipe. In this case, rather than using shop air to inflate that bladder, you can see there's a little hand pump that you can use to pump up that bladder, and it'll pinch onto the tailpipe, and it's a nice way to hold it. However, with that style of tailpipe adapter, you're not going to entrain any air into the system. Because of the way the air blows that bladder up, it pinches pretty much all the way around the tailpipe, and you're not going to get the cooling and trained ambient air into the system, which, if that's the case, you got to make sure that your fan CFM matches up with the engine CFM pretty good, so we don't have to worry about over or under exhausting the system. The lower tailpipe adapter is kind of unique, and it's a little difficult to see in this particular picture, but on the end of it, the working end of it, there is a clamp that will internally hold that onto a tailpipe. So if we had a tailpipe that was flush with the bumper and they did not want to use an adapter that was held up by a stand, you simply slide that into it fits on the inside of the tailpipe. You pull the lever, much like a caulk gun, and it swings open and pinches it on the inside of the tailpipe, and it holds it on that way. It's kind of a unique way to do it.
Okay, Eric, it looks like we have a question that says, on diesel regeneration exhaust stacks that are 14-inch in size, what does Monoxivent have to offer?
If the actual tailpipe itself is 14 inches square, we could probably make an adapter that would fit that. It could be square to match the opening or slightly bigger, or we could do something round. The location of that tailpipe is obviously going to make a difference also. How we support that. When you start making something that's going to be big enough, that's 14 by 14 or 24-inch round, or however big we have to make it to cover up that opening and still get entrained air into it, we got to make sure we have a way to support it. Now, I do have a slide coming up here in a little bit that is of a vertical stack cane that we made for Provost buses, and those particular buses don't have a traditional tailpipe like you think of a bus having. It has a louver on top. It's just a louvered opening on the top that's flush with the top of the bus, and that's where the exhaust came out, and we made a special tailpipe adapter for that, and we will see that here shortly. Here's some more, little bit more unique type adapters. These particular adapters utilize a Bowden release cable. The upper piece clamps on the hose, and there's a cable attached to that. And if someone were to drive away with the unit still attached to the vehicle, that cable would pull tight and it would open up the clamp. And as long as the tailpipe adapter was situated properly on the actual tailpipe, it would fall away and hopefully not do any damage to the tailpipe adapter, the hose, or the vehicle. Here are some more of the stand-mounted tailpipe adapters. Again, starting at the top, standard tapered cone setup. Working our way down, we have more of a scoop type setup for tailpipes that might be aiming more down than straight out horizontal, or might be under the vehicle. And then the lower one, we're taking that one step further and putting it on wheels so it's easier to move around. Same type of setup. However, the one in the middle and the lower one, that actual scoop can be adjusted. In this particular setup, the way you see them in these pictures, it's more for a tailpipe that's actually aiming vertical down towards the floor. Those scoops can be adjusted so that it can take a horizontal tailpipe configuration as well. Again, they can be mounted on rubber feet all the way down to putting them on wheels so they're easy to wheel around in the shop. Here we have a unique tailpipe adapter on the top, which is made to reach under a vehicle. If you have a vehicle that has the tailpipe kind of in towards the middle and you really don't want to crawl underneath it, here we have a way to slide that in that's adjustable horizontally in and out. The adapter can be rotated as well, depending on if the tailpipe is coming out at a 45-degree angle or not. That particular one we've even modified. There was a unique tailpipe that we saw that was actually louvered underneath a semi, and we took the end treatment, the oval or the rectangular end of it, cut it off, and made a different box, made a bigger box to match the louvered tailpipe on the vehicle underneath, and that way they could reach it in from the side without actually having to lay underneath the vehicle to get that thing to catch the exhaust fumes as it's coming out of that louver. The Y kit on the bottom, again, on a stand, adjustable up and down, in and out, and this is going to be used for vehicles that you just don't want the tailpipe adapters to be touching the car or the tailpipes themselves. Could be, take example, Ferraris or Lamborghinis or even the newer Corvettes, things like that. The way the tailpipes are and the way the bodywork fits them, they do not want them to touch, and that's something that you can use for a vehicle like that. Here was a custom adapter we made for snowmobiles. A lot of the two-cycle snowmobiles, the exhaust enters out the bottom of the sled. There's no traditional tailpipe to speak of. And with this, you can slide it underneath and adjust it up so that it's sealed against the belly pan of the snowmobile, and the exhaust fumes are discharged right into the open hole there. This looks like something out of the Ricola cough medicine commercial, but it is a tailpipe adapter made for fire station training facility. They were actually bringing fire trucks in, showing the guys how to operate the pumps and what have you on the truck. And while they were doing that, obviously the trucks were running. And when they were doing pump tests and things like that, they had the vehicle running at elevated RPMs, a lot higher exhaust gas temperatures. And we made them a special tailpipe adapter that could be wheeled up to and adjusted to fit. It could be, there's various handles and knobs that you can adjust that up and down, and you can adjust the rake of it depending on where the tailpipe is. And it allowed them to adjust it for the different vehicles that they brought in.
We have a question, Eric. Someone has a Maserati dealership they were working with, and the engineer chose to go with a brand other than Monoxivent for the basis of design. And this question is, are the NORFI products made specifically for certain brands of cars? I guess.
There are, in the NORFI line, there are a few tailpipe adapters that are made for specific cars. Maseratis, I do not believe that they were made specifically for Maseratis. I know that there's one in there for an SLR Mercedes that has a very unique tailpipe, the way it comes out of the side of the vehicle. It's an oval shape, and they have made a tailpipe adapter that is specifically for that particular car, just because of the unique nature of it. Maseratis, I'd have to see, if we could get a picture of the vehicles in question, especially a rear shot that shows the tailpipes, we could certainly take and pull the appropriate parts and pieces and make something for that particular application specifically, yes. Here's one that we made that kind of shows the whole system. However, I'm kind of handling the actual tailpipe adapter, the working end of it. This was made for an M1 tank. The M1 tank has a unique discharge out of the back of it. It's like a big louvered opening, and in this case, it's roughly 3 feet wide by 2 feet tall. So we made a special adapter that would fit over that opening and fit fairly snug to that opening, and it was ducted into a vertical stack from there. But the important thing here is, here's something that was made specifically for a certain application. Obviously, when we get into these unique applications like that, we really need to know what we're up against. We need to have pictures, dimensions, that kind of thing, before we can start designing something unique for that particular application. Here is what we talked about earlier for the Provost buses. The Provost bus had a roughly 12 by 12 louvered opening on the back corner of it that the exhaust discharged out of. There was no way that you could fit a traditional tailpipe adapter to it because it was flush with the top of the bus. So we took one of our portable vertical stack canes here, as you can see in this picture. We added a bumper to it to allow them to push it up to the bus without getting the roller base and the vertical mast into the side of the bus. It would stop it. But at the top, we had a 24-inch round hood with a rubber skirt around the perimeter of it, so as they lowered it down over that opening, it wouldn't scratch the top of the bus. That mast, again, is just like our traditional PVSC. It can be adjusted vertically up and down and to match the height of the bus. This is a supersized version of that. This particular unit was made for exhausting generators with vertical stacks coming out of the top of the generator. That hose, I believe, was 14 or 16-inch diameter. That the 180-degree bend at the top is, I think, 16 gauge, 304 stainless steel. Obviously, and 2,000-degree hose on the end of it. So, given the weight of that, you're not just going to pick it up and set it up on top of the generator to exhaust it. So we put it on a material jack, bolted it to that, and you can manually wind it up and down with the winch, the hand winch, to get it set to the height that you want. And in this case, it was plugged into a hose reel. We had a hose reel that this plugged into when they needed to use it on the generators. That pretty much concludes the presentation on tailpipe adapters. Just keep in mind that obviously we have a lot to offer in terms of bread and butter right out of the catalog, but we can also custom make a lot of different things. So if you do get into unique situations like the Maseratis or the 14-inch square tailpipe discharges, get us pictures, get us some dimensions. We can throw together some things for you. You can run them by your engineers and your building owners and see if we can't come up with a solution for them they'll like to use.
Okay, thanks, Eric. That concludes today's webinar on nozzles and adapters. Please contact our support team for design assistance, quoting, or any other requests. Remember, our website, monoxivent.com, is home to the complete catalog and other resources. And this webinar and all previous webinars are on the Monoxivent YouTube channel. These presentations are linked off of our website. Click Resources tab and click Webinars. Webinars are held on the last Friday of each month. Next month, our topic will center on Monoxivent's FRP products. We realize you are all very busy, and we genuinely appreciate the time you spent with us. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you.